G'day reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Welcome to Gallery Aquatica TV. Today we have received a distress call from one of our clients. They've recently purchased an existing aquarium complete with fish. They've moved it to their house and it sounds like things are going bad. The water is cloudy, the tank is smelly, there's uneaten food on the bottom of the substrate. So today we're going to go and do a big water change on this tank. We're just loading up now and we're going to go and save these fish. Well, here we are. Hopefully the fish are alive and we can do a big water change and fix this tank. Before we start the water change, we're going to have a look at the tank and just see exactly how bad the problem is. Let's go have a look. So this is the tank. It's a Red Sea Max 650 and it's only been here for a week. As you can see, it's fairly basic with its setup. There's a little bit of live rock. There are 3 fish in this tank. There's the powder brown tang, which is sort of getting around, swimming all over the place. There's a lionfish, which has a really fat belly on him. He's kind of hiding in this cave. But there's also a barramundi cod, which is hiding down the back. We'll have a closer look at him in a sec. But the tank looks okay. It's probably not as bad as I was expecting. One of the things I did ask the client on the phone was to scoop out as much of the uneaten food as possible. And I think looking at the belly on this lionfish, lots of food has gone into this tank. There are some particles of what I can only assume is food floating around the tank. And so clearly there has been an excessive amount of food going in for such a young tank. Now really the first thing that strikes me is the water clarity or lack of water clarity. There's this slight haze throughout the tank. Now that can be caused from the substrate and typically you'd expect it to have cleared by now. I mean, this tank has been running for a week. So my expectation is that this haze is actually ammonia produced from the rotting food. So the first thing we're going to do is have a look at the ammonia level and see if we can determine just how bad the ammonia is in this tank. We're going to do an ammonia test on this tank using our Salifert ammonia test. Now it's a very easy test. We've got 2 mils of our sample from water from the tank. We're going to draw up 1 mil of reagent. And you start with your 2 mils in the vial and you put half a mil of reagent, swirl for 30 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you put the other 5 mils, I should say 0.5 mils of reagent and swirl for 10 seconds. We're now going to leave this sit for 3 minutes and we'll come back to it. And we're back. So we've waited our 3 minutes and we're just going to give one last swirl to the sample with the reagent and we're going to have a look at how the colour of the sample compares on our colour chart. So we're actually going to look through the side and to me I would actually say that our sample lines up pretty closely with what is 1 ppm of ammonia. So that's pretty bad and this tank definitely needs a water change. So I think today, given that the level of ammonia is so bad, we're going to do a big water change. So now we'll take you through the steps to do a big water change on a tank like this. It's quite a distance from the ute to the tank, and so I'm just working out exactly what gear we're going to use. I think we're going to need at least 2 or 3 of our hoses, and they're modular, they link together, so we can use as many as we need. But we'll start with this one, we'll get the tank draining, and then we'll work out what hoses we need to fill it back up again. So whenever I do a water change on these Red Sea Max, I always just put a towel over the edge just to reduce the chance of scratching the pelmet. Looking at the fish, they're not looking in too much distress, to be honest. Given the level of the ammonia, you'd often see fish which are in tanks like this suffering a little bit more. You'll often see signs that they're unhappy and are struggling to breathe. They'll be at the surface and they'll be gasping. So I think that we've got here in time, and we should definitely be able to save these fish. So we've got our hose in position, and I'll just lay it all out and start the siphon. So I mentioned that each of these sections of hose are modular, and the first section of hose has got 2 male cam locks, but the additional or extra length pieces have got a female and a male, and this means that I can link them to the first using the female cam lock. That's it. Alright, so we're going to need 2 more lengths. Now that our hose is draining, we just need to get back to the tank. We need to turn off the return pump and the wave maker. Alright, the tank started to make a bit of noise because we've interrupted the overflow silencing system. So we're going to turn the return pump off. It's nice and easy with these systems because you've got your control center here, and this one's even labeled return pump. So turn that off, and now we just have to work out which one is the wave maker and turn it off as well. No. Yes, easy. Alright, so now we can just drain the tank and fill it back up again. So we're halfway through draining the tank, and we've got another 5 or 10 minutes before we're going to start to refill. But I like to use that time to get set up so that it's a very smooth transition between the draining and the refill. So first thing, take the lid off the IBC. And it's funny, if you forget to take the lid off an IBC, when you start pumping water out of it, the whole thing starts to implode. It's quite funny to watch, but it wrecks your IBC, so take the lid off. I'm just going to get the pump set up. We use just a cheap Davy, nice and fast, durable, I like them. And I'm going to run the extension cord somewhere into the room with the tank, hopefully in nice and close, so that I can easily turn on and off the pump from right next to the tank. So I'll just run that inside. So happily we were able to use a power point that is fairly close to the tank. So now all we have to do, plug this in. I've made sure, of course, that the power point is currently in the off position. You don't want to run your pump dry, of course. So to get it ready, plug that in, and now we just have to wait for the tank to drain to the point we want it, and then we'll start to pump the water back in. So this is as much water as we're going to drain out, and it's nice when there's no corals in the tank because we don't have to worry about being too quick. The worst thing is when you do a big water change and you've got corals sitting out of the water, especially LPS. It can really affect them, and you've got to be really quick when it's a reef tank. But this is going to be easy. The water in our IBC is very close to the 24 degrees of the tank. So we'll just let this purge out for a second, and then we'll go back and start pumping the water. So we won't need our last hose module. So I'll just disconnect that, plug this in, open up the valve, and go turn on the power. fish is sort of swimming around happy. The powder brown hasn't stopped moving, and he's even picking, looking for food. The barramundi cod is still hiding, but that's exactly what we expect. They can be a little bit shy, and this is what I'm going to call a young tank, or at least a recently moved tank. And recently moved tanks are always a little bit more likely to have problems with ammonia. You've got to be really careful whenever you relocate a tank that you're very conservative with the amount of food that you're feeding. And most importantly, if you do put food into the tank and it doesn't get eaten, remove it quickly with a net. So that's our job done for the day. I'm happy to say that we've hopefully saved these fish. They should certainly be fine from here on. There's good biological filtration and a strong skimmer. We'll have a closer look at this tank in another week, and we'll check that ammonia again, make sure it's all on track. We'll show you this tank in the future. Almost certainly there's going to be some more fish going into it in the coming months. Already the clients have been talking about getting a large rabbit fish, a big porcupine puffer, and a couple of other things that we have down at Gallery Aquatica at the moment. That's our video for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode where we've saved a tank full of fish from ammonia poisoning. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing. That's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and make sure you've subscribed to our channel so you don't miss an episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Happy reefing!